the two sides on the Capitol are sharply divided over spending priorities, and we've got just a person to talk about it. We're joined now by Vice President JD Vance from the Vice President's mansion. Mr. Vice President, thank you very much for joining us this morning. I know it's a busy day. I want to start with what's happening now, knowing that we're going to talk about how we got here and how we got out of it. But right now, the president's been talking about the possibility of mass layoffs. Is that an expansion or a continuation of what's already happening, or should Americans be bracing for something new?
Well, good morning, Tony. Thanks for having me. I mean, first of all, why are we in this position? We're in this position because Senate Democrats decided that they were going to shut down the government, despite the fact that the House voted to keep the government open. And I have to be honest, Tony, it's actually not all Senate Democrats. To their great credit, a number of moderate Democrats voted with Republicans to keep the government open last night. Unfortunately, it was one faction of one branch of government, the far left faction of the Senate Democrats, who decided to shut down the people's government. And to your point about what's going to happen now, there are critical, essential services that the people rely on that are going to suffer because of this. There are people who benefit from low-income food programs, families like mine who benefited from those programs, who are going to see those programs disappear. There are people, of course, who are flying today, should know that if their flight is delayed, I hope it's not, but it may have something to do with the fact that our TSA agents and our air traffic controllers are no longer getting paid. Our military is no longer getting paid. There are critical services that the Democrats have taken hostage because they have a policy disagreement that they are open to work with us on, but they shouldn't be shutting the government down because of that policy disagreement. Now, you asked about mass layoffs. We don't want to lay anybody off. But what we do want to do is make sure that as much of the essential services of government remain functional as possible. We were sort of dealt this hand by that faction of Senate Democrats who shut down the government. We're going to have to deal with it. We're going to have to make sure that as much of the people's government remains open or functional as possible. Yeah. That's what we're going to do. But there's going to be some pain. And there's necessarily going to be some pain because Senate Democrats refuse to reopen the government. We hope that they'll change their minds in the days to come.
So, Mr. Vice President, let's talk about how we get out of this by going right to that policy difference. It's about subsidies supporting the Affordable Care Act. Democrats want to extend those subsidies. Republicans don't. If those subsidies are not extended, people will see spikes in their health care costs. Some people will opt not to have insurance as a result. What do you want to have happen around those subsidies? Do you support extending them as a general matter?
So two very important points. First of all, those subsidies, while many of them are important, Tony, they don't expire until next year. So the idea that you have to shut down the government in early October over subsidies that don't expire for many months is preposterous. Nobody buys it, not even many Senate Democrats who, of course, voted with us last night to reopen the government. The second point I want to make is if you look at the Democrats' initial demands, the reason why this process really fell off the ramps from the very beginning, they came to us saying that they wanted to give massive amount of taxpayer benefits to illegal aliens. That's ridiculous. And you're certainly not going to shut down the government because we refuse to give taxpayer-funded health care to illegal aliens. But that is the situation that we now find ourselves in. Now, if Senate Democrats or House Democrats or anybody else wants to come to the Oval Office, look, I'll go down to the Capitol right now to talk about how to enhance subsidy support for people's health care. We want to have that conversation. And frankly, there's a lot of common area of agreement on that. What you don't do is hold the economy hostage and shut down the government because we're not giving you everything that you want. You go back to Barack Obama, you go back to George W. Bush. Everybody agreed you don't shut down the government over policy disagreements. Unfortunately, Senate Democrats don't think that way today.
Mr. Vice President, both parties have shut down the government before because of policy disagreements. Now, they often don't get what they want. But I have two quick follow-ups. The first there, on the Affordable Care Act subsidies, people do need to make decisions now. The renewal notices go out on November 1st, so now is the time to think about whether you can afford health care going forward. Two, on this notion that Democrats want to give a bunch of taxpayer dollars to illegal aliens, is that a reference to health care? Because when I look at it, illegal aliens are not currently eligible for the Affordable Care Act as is. So what are you referring to there?
Yeah, so I appreciate the opportunity to explain that, Tony. There's a lot of crosstalk here. So here's what I mean. If you go back to the Biden era, they did two separate things. First of all, they encouraged illegal aliens and funded illegal aliens to go to American hospitals for health care. That was number one. Number two, they gave a massive, what's called parole. They effectively waved an amnesty wand and gave health care benefits to millions of illegal aliens who are in the country without documentation, without proper authorization. We undid both of those Biden-era programs to cut off that health care funding to illegal aliens. The Democrats want to reinstitute those policies, and they're saying that unless you reinstitute those policies that give benefits to illegal aliens, we want to shut down the government. We, of course, think that's preposterous. And I think, frankly, some Senate Democrats obviously agree with us on that point. Now, you also asked about, in the past, of course, people have shut down the government. But what we've learned through many cycles of government shutdowns is they never work. They cause a lot of damage. We should take that wisdom, open up the government, and then talk about how to ensure that people have access to health care. We want that, Tony. We want people to have access to health care. We just don't want to shut down the government as part of a hostage-taking tactic, which is what we've done because of the Senate Democrats and the situation they put us in.
So, Mr. Vice President, what is your advice then for people right now, more than 20 million Americans who rely on subsidies to afford health insurance?
Well, my advice to them is that they should call their congressman, they should call their senator, and first of all, encourage them to reopen the government. And second of all, make their voices heard, because we want them to have access to health care as much as anybody. You mentioned that a lot of those notices will go out on November 1st. We've been working with insurance companies to ensure that we have the time necessary to get the right reforms in place so that people's health care premiums don't skyrocket. Of course, we inherited this really bad health care system from the last days of the Biden administration. We want to fix it. We just don't want to shut down the government while we're fixing it. Why can't we open up the government, fix the health care problem, and actually work together for a change? You don't take the economy hostage because you want a particular health care policy, especially when the White House is offering to work with Senate Democrats to fix that policy. So let's fix it. Let's reopen the government. Let's do something for the American people and not take the economy hostage by shutting down the government. We're already in this, but each day that we keep going, it's just going to get worse. So let's stop it.
All right, Mr. Vice President, I appreciate your time this morning. There's other issues we did want to get to. We ran out of time. I hope you'll come back soon.
Thanks, Tony. Take care.
All right, appreciate it. Democrats say they are trying to stop a GOP spending plan that could raise health care costs for many Americans, millions, in fact. Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren joins us now for more on the state of things. Senator Warren, thank you very much for coming back to us. We appreciate having you on, as always. I do wonder what the state of things are right now. Eventually, someone's going to have to compromise. Someone's going to have to blink and make a deal. Also, someone's going to get the blame. Are any negotiations going on right now?
So, look, the Speaker of the House just said last night that he didn't plan to negotiate and didn't want to negotiate. But here's the thing to remember. Americans we've had a broken health care system for a very long time. But in July, the Republicans, all by themselves with no Democratic votes, voted to cut health care for 15 million Americans, just knock them off their health care coverage, and voted to raise insurance premiums for tens of millions more. And those increases in insurance premiums are occurring literally right now this month in October. People are getting their notices. So Democrats said at the time, when you passed that bill, it's going to come due, because when we get ready to do the budget for the year, we're going to ask that that be rolled back. And the Republicans didn't want to talk about it, wouldn't negotiate. So now that's where we are. Democrats are fighting to try to keep those health care costs down and to roll back the Republican cuts.
But Senator, Majority Leader John Thune of South Dakota says he is ready to negotiate around the subsidies, but they're not going to negotiate with the government in a shutdown mode. Why not reopen and go to the table to make a deal?
So I don't understand that. We're ready to negotiate. We have had now 3 months. We've been begging the Republicans to come to the table and negotiate. You know how many negotiations there have been? 0. And the Republicans are saying they won't negotiate when there's not a shutdown. They won't negotiate when there is a shutdown. So far, they won't negotiate at all. We are only fighting not to expand the money that's spent on health care, just to roll back the cuts so that what health care coverage people had last June, they will still have in October, November, December, and going forward. That's all that Democrats are asking for, and the Republicans won't even sit down with us.
But Senator, they're saying they will sit down now, and you have some Democrats, I'm thinking about Senator Masto of Nevada, saying that by withholding, by shutting down in this particular moment, you're giving more power to the Trump administration. You're not taking power away, you're giving it. Why do you disagree with her?
Look, let's understand that Donald Trump is going to do whatever he wants to do. And Russ Vought, the author of Project 2025, is in there trying to make as many painful cuts as he can. That could be stopped if the Republicans in the House and the Senate would just say no more of this. Donald Trump has already illegally fired tens of thousands of federal employees, and now we have a president of the United States who's saying that what he wants to do is impose as much pain as possible on some of his fellow Americans just so that he can win a political battle. He's cutting infrastructure spending in places where the money's already been approved because it's important to build those tunnels and build those bridges. But Donald Trump says he doesn't care. He just wants to impose pain on Americans because he thinks that Democrats actually care and that Democrats will be forced to back down. Look,
Senator,
we're fighting for people's health care. That's what this is all about.
So, Senator, Republicans say what you're really fighting for is taxpayer dollars for, as they put it, illegal aliens. I know that's not strictly true, but there is a provision.
Excuse me, not strictly true.
It's not true directly, but
it is a flat-out lie. It is a flat-out lie.
The way that they frame it.
There is nothing in Medicare that permits one undocumented immigrant to get $1 of assistance.
Senator, if you let me finish the question.
Of course,
Senator,
I'm sorry.
Sorry, in the Democratic counteroffer, the proposal for funding, there is a restoration of Medicaid benefits for certain non-citizens that it had been taken away in the big, beautiful bill, as the Republicans put it. Republicans don't think those people should be getting health care on the taxpayer dime. I'm not asking on the merits. Politically, putting that in there exposes you to this talking point, this lie, as you put it. Why put it in there? Why is it worth it?
No, what's happened is that what we're saying is that whenever hospitals give care, what is going to be the level of reimbursement? And the Republicans said it's going to be a low level. The Democrats said we just want to go back to the level it was before because you're going to bankrupt hospitals. You're going to put rural hospitals out of business. The Republicans and the Democrats plan, nothing changes the number of undocumented immigrants who still get care if they show up bleeding and unconscious at an emergency room. There is absolutely zero difference. The difference is whether or not hospitals, who under laws that date back to Ronald Reagan, may provide emergency care to anyone who's unconscious, will actually get reimbursed at a very low level that will put the hospital ultimately out of business potentially, or at a higher level. The Republicans, there is no change, no change in the number of undocumented immigrants who get any help under what the Democrats want. Look,
Senator,
what we're looking for is help for people who are going to get pushed out of nursing homes,
Senator,
help for people who are at home and relying on home health aides. That's
Senator,
what this fight is about.
I appreciate your expansion on that issue, and I appreciate the conversation. I hope a compromise is reached soon. Senator Elizabeth Warren, thank you.
Thank you.
Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson, who's been blaming Democrats for all of it, joins us now to expand on those thoughts and more. Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for joining us. My first question is an easy one. Is any negotiation going on right now on Capitol Hill?
There's no negotiation right now because the Democrats have dug in. You say I'm blaming the Democrats. I mean, these are objective facts. We passed in the House more than 2 weeks ago a clean continuing resolution. There's no partisan pills in this. There's no Republican priorities. It's just an extension of current funding, Tony, so that we can keep the government open until November 21st to allow the appropriators in both parties to continue their good work. They've been working very hard in a bipartisan fashion to move the 12 appropriations bills. We just ran out of time because the end of the fiscal year is September 30th. We're asking, wait a minute, this is very important. All we're asking is that Senate Democrats do what they have always done in the past every single single time and allow the additional clock. That's it.
Mr. Speaker, they clearly think they have leverage right now, which is why they're doing this. There's also things that the Trump administration and Republicans think they can get in a shutdown. One thing is shrinking the size of government, some layoffs. I know you think government's too big. I know you think it does too much and does too much of it poorly. You know about the layoffs that are planned. You've got word of them. What departments, how many people?
I don't know. I don't know those details yet. We did have a long conference call yesterday with Russ Vought, who directs the Office of Management and Budget. But what was communicated to us is that they are trying to mitigate the damage. The president and Republicans in Congress do not want a government shutdown. We are bending over backwards to prevent it because real people get hurt. The Senate Democrats, 44 of them, have now voted 3 times to shut the government down. And here's what's going to happen, Tony. Real Americans are going to suffer from this. You have veterans benefits, food nutrition programs for women, infants, and children that are being stalled. You have health services that will not be provided. We have troops, TSA agents and Border Patrol agents now going to work without pay. There's real damage. FEMA services are being shut off in the middle of a hurricane season. Chuck Schumer is leading the Democrats off a cliff, and it's very simple. Everyone now knows why. He's trying to fend off a challenge from his far left in his party for his next Senate race. That's why he's done it. Chuck Schumer voted for this exact product in March of this year.
Mr. Speaker.
And every year that he's been in Congress, which is more than half my life.
Mr. Speaker, I'm curious about the implications of there not being a deal. The subsidies that support the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare, used by more than 20 million people. They've come to depend on them. If those subsidies go away, health care premiums will spike. Some people will choose not to go on insurance. Bernie Sanders is arguing some people are going to die as a result. Are Republicans trying to topple or effectively topple Obamacare without outright saying so?
No, this is an absolute 100% red herring. Everyone in Congress knows, and the Democrats know as well, even the ones making this crazy argument, that that is a provision that does not expire until the end of December, December 31. We are in the beginning of October. They're trying to make a December policy issue. Wait a minute. Part of the argument for a stopgap funding measure in Congress. That is not the issue.
But, Speaker, people at home have to make decisions now about what they're going to be doing next year. They're looking at how much money they have, how much something might cost, and they're deciding now.
Tony, we have 3 months for Congress to do its deliberate work. All we're saying is while that work is done on these and other issues, keep the lights on for the American people. The Democrats have made a wild series of counter demands. What they're demanding is to spend $1.5 trillion additional dollars for a 7-week stopgap funding measure. We can't do that. They want to give health care paid for by taxpayers, hardworking Americans, to illegal aliens. We are not going to do that. They want to give $500 million back for left-leaning media organizations paid for by taxpayers. We're not doing that. They know that. They're playing a political game here, and it's very dangerous for the people.
I hear you on that.
It's quite sad.
I hear you on that, and I did ask Senator Warren about some of those subjects in the last hour. I want to get you on the record on this AI sombrero video thing with Leader Jeffries. Everyone's talking about it. He says that the video and the images are racist and bigoted. You've got to work with this individual. Do you see his point of view here? Can you see how he might feel that way?
Hakeem is my friend. We have a great relationship of trust. He's a great colleague. I think he has to lighten up. When you show that you're upset, I get attacked in memes every single hour of every day. I don't react to it. That's what people are trying to get out of you as a reaction. The president was making a joke, okay, and so much has been made out of this. They're acting as if the issue of the day is a battle over memes on social media. The issue is to get services returned to American people, young mothers who are dependent upon that nutrition assistance right now, veterans who need their services. We have suicide prevention programs that are being halted right now. This is serious business.
We
should not be talking about sombreros on the internet. We should be talking about the American people's needs.
It is serious business. We've given it extensive coverage today, and we'll continue covering it tomorrow. One additional topic I do want to get your answer on is Representative Grijalva, who won a special election last week in Arizona. She's yet to be sworn in. I know you're not in session, but you've sworn in Republicans out of session. Why not her? Does it have anything to do with Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, the House is not on the floor doing business this week, but we will do it immediately, early next week, as soon as everyone returns to town. We have to have everybody here, and we'll swear her in. I congratulate her on her win. She's replacing her father, who had a long history here, and she'll be a productive member of Congress. We look forward to that.
All right, Speaker Johnson, I really appreciate your time, as always. Thank you.
Thanks so much.
We had the vice president on doing an interview with Tony, and we played a bite for our viewers where he talks about, the fact that let's take the health care debate outside of this shutdown, negotiate that separately, and work together with both sides. Why can't that happen?
Well, Adriana, we've been trying to negotiate this for weeks now, and the negotiation came down to the day before the shutdown, 1 hour in the White House with the President of the United States, who didn't even seem to understand the reports we got, where he did not understand the details of what this negotiation was all about. This basically comes down to the price that Americans have to pay for their health care. On November 1st, 20 million Americans are going to see their premiums double. In my state, premiums are going to go up by $475 a month. 109,000 people in the state of Arizona will potentially lose their health insurance. That's all this is about. And if you wait until the last day to do the negotiation and you don't understand these things, the president did not understand what this was about. Now, we could fix this today. This is pretty easy to do. All it takes is one vote. We want to bring down the cost of health care for Americans. It is going to be unaffordable for millions and millions of people in just 30 days. It's pretty simple. It's a simple thing to do. We should get this done today.
Senator Mark Kelly, thank you so much.